What is going on, guys? So today, based on the title, you might be a little confused as to what I'm actually talking about because it might have been a little bit clickbaity. The title's probably going to be something like, is Marco the strongest top Yonko commander or something like that, where really I'm only going to be talking about two of them, and even then that's not exactly the case because I'm going to be comparing Marco to Ben Beckman, who we don't really know anything about. So it's hard to say who really is stronger than the other, right? This is kind of going to be like a follow-up video related to the one I did 2 videos ago, I believe, where I was talking about how I calculate power levels and whatnot, and how important I think portrayal is. A lot of people seem to think it is underrated, or, well, no, actually people think it's overrated. So I think it's underrated personally, but I think Ben Beckman is a perfect example of a character who we know pretty much absolutely nothing about. You can't really power scale him because you haven't seen him do anything except point a gun at Kizaru, but what does that really mean? And then he has no feats either, again, except pointing a gun at Kizaru and making Kizaru stop, which I actually do consider a lot more important than most people, but at the same time, I don't think it's that significant. I think he's almost 100% portrayal, and even with that in mind, some people think he is just going to be the strongest top Yonko commander. And since I think that Marco is the top Yonko commander that's strong as far as we know right now, I think it's a perfect thing to compare, right? I think it's cool to compare who I think would overall be stronger. Not necessarily in an overall like 1v1 fight, but who just would be able to defeat more opponents and whatnot. Definitely can't do a 1v1 situation since, again, we know absolutely nothing about Ben Beckman, so it'd be like, okay, what are we even talking about here? There's really no information. So, as far as Ben Beckman, well, as far as Marco goes, we should probably start there. You know, I've already made a video talking about where I think he is. It's my, is Marco Admiral level video. If you want to see that, see what I kind of think about Marco, you're more than welcome to do that. I'll just give you a brief idea. I mean, basically, I think in the War of the Best, he fought against all 3 of the Admirals. He wasn't dead after fighting all 3. His first encounter was against Kizaru, which was a little skirmish, which I would argue he most certainly won. You definitely can't argue that he lost since, I mean, we all saw it, right? He didn't even take any damage, and Kizaru most certainly did. So, I'm not saying he defeated Kizaru or anything like that. I don't know what happened in a long, drawn-out battle, but he definitely beat him in that skirmish, and he did lose to Akainu and Aokiji, but he was doing a lot of shit in the War of the Best, and he had already beaten Kizaru at that point. So, I think that's pretty good. As far as how he would do again an actual 1v1 to the death battle against an admiral, I don't know if I would necessarily say he would defeat any of them. I think he's on their level, meaning they would have to take him to extreme diff, right? It would be a massive battle. It'd be hard to tell who would be the winner the entire time. I think all of them probably would come out on top, but still, he is certainly right up there with them in my opinion. Now, as far as Ben Beckman goes, he is basically the first mate of the Red Hair Pirates, so he is probably the second strongest among the Red Hair Pirates. A lot of people, I would say more than 50% of the One Piece fan base, thinks that Shanks is the strongest character in the entire series, and I think that there's a, good argument for that. I personally put Kaido at the strongest, and then either Dragon or Shanks immediately below him. I'm not sure where I would place those two specifically, but the point is the Shanks is pretty powerful in my opinion. So now, what does that mean about his commanders, and more importantly, his top Yonko commander? Well, from the beginning of the series, basically since Shanks was introduced, and all the other Yonkos, the way that they all interacted, I thought that Shanks is probably going to have the strongest overall crew, and at this point, crews don't really matter, it's more specifically your commanders, right? And I think that that carries over. I think that Shanks is probably going to have the overall strongest commanders. I think that, like, if you took the average power level of Cracker through Katakuri, Jack through King, all of Blackbeards, I don't even know what to do with those, but the Whitebeards and all of Shanks's, they're all average. I think Shanks would have the highest average power level per commander. So what does that mean about his top Yonko commander then compared to the top Yonko commander Marco of the Whitebeard Pirates? Well, I think it could be interpreted in 2 different ways, really. The first one would be, well, since they're on average more powerful than everyone, it should just be another step up for the top Yonko commander, right? So he would probably be the strongest top Yonko commander by that logic. Now, there is another way of looking at it, in my opinion, which is, because they're all so much stronger, they also might be much closer than each other. So, for example, I think Cracker is significantly weaker than Katakuri, right? I think that Katakuri would make pretty quick work of him, probably a mid-diff battle. I wouldn't say low necessarily, but I would say low to mid-diff, so there's a huge gap there. Where Ben Beckman, on the other hand, I think maybe because those commanders are so much more powerful, in my opinion, than other commanders, it's only reasonable that they're all much closer to each other, which also makes sense since they all seem to be like best buddies and everything. It's kind of like the relationship between Zoro and Luffy, but on a much larger scale, I think. So I am personally using that way to look at it. I think that they're all going to be super strong, and Ben Beckman is not going to be that much stronger than them. Maybe he's going to be, certainly, but I don't think it's a huge gap like Katakuri probably is, King probably is, Shiryu, excuse me, most certainly seems to be. And Marco, I mean, come on. Speaking of which, let's just get right to that. When it comes to Marco and the rest of the Whitebeard commanders, I mean, well, we have Whitebeard and then Marco, which is a massive gap, of course. And then we have Marco and I would say Vista and Jozu, which I think is a pretty huge gap as well. Don't get me wrong, Jozu and Vista are pretty good. I mean, Vista did have his whole thing where he was sparring with Mihawk. I almost just said Shanks. But that isn't even that great. They most certainly weren't anywhere near each other. I mean, Mihawk wasn't even paying attention, right? He was basically like checking out what was going on with Luffy, just thinking to himself. He wasn't even looking half the time, but he was dealing with it quite well. And then we have Jozu, who has shown some tremendous physical strength, but he hasn't really applied it in any situation that was game-changing. So I'm not putting them that great. They're both super powerful characters, but I don't think they're quite near Marco's level at this point. And besides that, I mean, we got what the 12 division commanders of the Whitebeard Pirates, and they're basically all irrelevant compared to those three. So I don't even know what to say. I mean, I would say probably Ace is the next most powerful, and you guys know I think he's garbage. So what does that even mean? I mean, I don't think I think the Whitebeard division commanders like were really not well thought out as far as Oda goes. I mean, there are too many of them, I guess, so they can't be that strong. But compared to other Yonko commanders, it doesn't even make sense. Like Cracker would no diff any of them, including Ace. So I don't know. With that in mind, it's for the Whitebeard Pirates to have gotten this far. I think that Marco has to be tremendously powerful, right? Of course, Whitebeard helps a lot, but so does Shanks. Okay, so the Whitebeard Pirates have to have some way to be able to compare, at least to other Yonko crews. And I think Marco most certainly has to help fill that role. I think that Vista and Jozu would help a lot. Thatch maybe when he was alive, but I mean, come on, right? Marco has to have a pretty big gap. And the opposite of the way I'm looking at Shanks' crew, I think because most of the Whitebeard crew is so much weaker than most of the other Yonko commanders, Marco probably would sit far above them, unlike Ben Beckman, who I think would be more similar to his commanders, who are a lot stronger than the Whitebeard ones, by the way, so it's not like Ben Beckman's just going to suck. He's going to be amazing. But I'm not sure if that would be enough for him to catch up to Marco. So, I mean, that's basically my analysis on that as far as portrayal goes versus what we've actually seen from Marco and the way that it kind of just fits into the story. In an actual 1v1 battle, like I said, there's really nothing I can do there. I mean, we have no information on Ben Beckman. And Marco, we do have some, but what can I do with just a one-sided battle? It just doesn't really make any sense. So can't do much there, but I guess if I had to give you my answer as to which one I think is actually more powerful overall, I guess at this point in the story I am leaning towards Marco, but I could most certainly see Ben Beckman being more powerful. If that was to happen, it would be a little weird because I would imagine Shanks' crew would be completely unstoppable, and it makes no sense as to what his motivations are and why he hasn't just taken over the world at this point because they'd be so powerful. But I guess time will tell. I'm assuming that they're not that powerful because, again, it wouldn't make sense. So we will have to see on that one. So, right, that's basically all I have to say. Hopefully most of you guys agree with me, or maybe not, and you can leave me a comment arguing with me. I will be sure to respond as long as it is a reasonable comment, not just a fuck off or something like that. I like getting those a lot. Those are pretty good. I get that a lot. That's a pretty good one, just fuck off. But yeah, so if you guys did enjoy this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to leave a comment letting me know what you thought if you enjoyed this type of video where I maybe talk about someone we have very little information on. A lot of people probably don't like that idea, but some people most certainly do. I see a lot of people in my Discord talking about different versus battles with characters we know absolutely nothing about except their like title and position or something. So speaking of the Discord, if you have not already, make sure to check the link in the description for my Discord. Sign up real quick. I have so many different channels throughout my Discord for different discussion about versus battles and whatnot. Just One Piece chapter, current discussion, general One Piece discussion. It's not all just One Piece. We got a ton of different anime. We got like Dragon Ball, Haikyuu, Naruto, Hunter x Hunter, My Hero, Attack on Titan, right? That's basically the second best anime of all time, so make sure to get in there for that. Tons of different stuff, voice chats like every night. It's a really fun time. Make sure to check that. With that all being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for making it this long if you have. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you guys soon.